The lights had barely dimmed at Goyang Stadium, but the energy from the night still lingered in the air like an echo that refused to fade. Thousands of fans had just witnessed a performance that felt larger than music itself, something emotional, something deeply human. The cheers, the synchronized light sticks, the chants that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, everything about the night felt unforgettable. But what no one expected was that one of the most talked about moments wouldn't happen on stage at all. It happened quietly, almost too quietly for something that would soon send waves across the entire fandom. Backstage, away from the roaring crowd, something deeply personal unfolded, and it involved two people that fans know incredibly well, yet in a context that felt rare, almost sacred. When Jimin walked off stage, still glowing from the performance, still carrying the adrenaline of the crowd, he wasn't expecting anything unusual. Maybe a quick debrief, maybe a moment to breathe, maybe a quiet laugh with the members. That's usually how these nights end. But this time, something, or rather someone, was waiting. Jungkook's mother. Now, pause for a second and think about that. For fans, family moments involving idols are always treated with a certain level of respect and curiosity. They're private, protected, and rarely seen. So when something like this happens, even in the smallest, most natural way, it becomes something much bigger than just a simple meeting. Reports and fan accounts began to surface almost immediately. Some described how Jimin seemed momentarily surprised, his expression shifting in a way that felt genuine, unfiltered. Others noticed how quickly that surprise turned into warmth, respect, even a kind of tenderness that you don't often get to see in such a fast-paced, high-pressure environment. And that raises an interesting question. Why did this moment resonate so deeply? Because it wasn't just about a meeting, it was about what it represented. Think about the journey of BTS, from trainees chasing a dream to global icons redefining the music industry. Their story is filled with struggle, sacrifice, and relentless dedication. Behind every member is a family that supported them, sometimes quietly, sometimes from afar, but always significantly. So when those two worlds collide, the public world of performance and the private world of family, it creates something powerful. Fans noticed the body language first. Jimin reportedly bowed respectfully, a gesture deeply rooted in Korean culture, especially when meeting someone older or someone you want to show respect to. But it wasn't just the bow, it was the way he held himself, the way he smiled, the way the interaction seemed to linger just a little longer than expected. Why does that matter? Because in moments like these, authenticity is everything, and this felt authentic. There was no stage, no choreography, no cameras directing the moment, just a human interaction between two people connected by someone they both care about deeply. And somehow that simplicity made it even more emotional. Some fans began to speculate. Was this their first time meeting? Had they met before, but never publicly? Was Jungkook nearby, watching the interaction unfold? Each question added another layer to the story, making it more intriguing, more personal, more real. And then came the reactions. Social media lit up almost instantly. Clips, descriptions, emotional breakdowns. Fans couldn't stop talking about it. But what stood out wasn't just the excitement, it was the tone, the warmth, the way people described feeling soft, emotional, even proud in a strange, indirect way. Why proud? Because moments like this remind fans that behind the global fame, behind the millions of albums and sold-out stadiums, these are still people. People with relationships, with families, with moments that matter in ways that go beyond music. And Jimin's reaction, in particular, became a focal point. There's something about him that has always been described as gentle, considerate, emotionally aware. Fans often talk about his ability to make others feel comfortable, to create an atmosphere of warmth wherever he goes. And in this moment, those qualities seem to shine through naturally. But here's something worth thinking about. Would this moment have had the same impact if it involved someone else? Or is there something uniquely powerful about Jimin's presence, his personality, the way he connects with people? It's not an easy question to answer, but it's one that fans clearly felt. Because this wasn't just Jimin meets Jungkook's mom, it became Jimin being Jimin. And Jungkook, even though the focus was on the meeting, his presence was felt throughout the narrative. After all, this was his world, and seeing someone he's so close to interact with someone from his private life creates a sense of connection that fans rarely get to witness. It almost feels like two chapters of the same story briefly overlapping. There's also a cultural layer here that adds depth to the moment. In Korean culture, respect for elders is not just a formality, it's a core value. The way Jimin conducted himself wasn't just polite, it was meaningful. It reflected not only who he is as a person, but also the cultural values that shape interactions like this. And maybe that's part of why fans around the world found it so touching. Because even if you're not familiar with those cultural nuances, you can feel the sincerity. You can sense when something is genuine. But let's step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture. Why do moments like these go viral? It's not because they're dramatic, it's not because they're shocking, it's because they're real. In an industry often defined by performance and image, authenticity stands out more than anything else. And when fans catch a glimpse of that authenticity, even for a few seconds, it creates a connection that feels personal. It's almost like being let in on something special, something not meant for the stage, but meaningful nonetheless. And that brings us to an even deeper question. What do fans really look for in moments like these? Is it the interaction itself, the people involved, or is it the feeling, the emotional resonance that lingers long after the moment has passed? For many, it's probably all of the above. Because at its core, this moment wasn't about headlines or trends, it was about connection. The connection between Jimin and Jungkook, the connection between Jungkook and his family, and the connection between BTS and their fans, who continue to support them, not just as artists, but as individuals.
And let's be honest, there's something incredibly powerful about seeing your favorite artists in moments that feel unfiltered. Moments where they're not performing, not entertaining, but simply being themselves. It humanizes them. It reminds you that behind the fame, there are real emotions, real relationships, real moments that matter. As the story continued to spread, fans began to reflect on what it meant to them personally. Some shared how it reminded them of their own friendships, their own families. Others talked about how it reinforced their admiration for Jimin, not just as an artist, but as a person. And that's where the real impact lies, not in the moment itself, but in what it represents. Because at the end of the day, music brings people together, but it's moments like these that keep them connected. So what happens next? Will there be more moments like this? More glimpses into the personal lives of the members? Or will this remain one of those rare, unforgettable instances that fans hold on to? No one really knows, but maybe that's what makes it special. The unpredictability, the rarity, the feeling that you witnessed something genuine in a world that often feels curated. And as the conversation continues, one thing becomes clear. This wasn't just another viral moment, it was a reminder of why fans fell in love with BTS in the first place, not just for their music, but for who they are. So now I want to ask you something. What did this moment mean to you? Did it make you smile? Did it surprise you? Did it make you see Jimin or Jungkook in a different light? Or maybe, just maybe, it made you feel a little more connected to them. Because if it did, then maybe that's the real story here. Not the meeting itself, but the feeling it created. And if you want more stories like this, moments that go beyond the stage, beyond the spotlight, make sure you stay connected. Share your thoughts, join the conversation, and let's keep exploring the stories that make these artists more than just global icons. Because sometimes the quietest moments speak the loudest.